that too. Thousands of times, the monkey is now wired to do this. So much so that now you can open the monkey's fingers, and guess what the monkey does for no good reason? Over and over again. You go, so what? I'm not a monkey. What's the point? Well, the point is this. Do you ever go to work the same way each day? Maybe get on the same on-ramp each day? Do you have a kind of a ritual like that? Have you ever had a day where you're actually supposed to go in a different direction, but you're not thinking or on your cellular phone, and what do? You get right on that on-ramp the same way? You're a monkey. What you're doing is you've conditioned yourself so much that it's like hypnosis. You just automatically go into it. Well, can we condition ourselves to feel frustrated over and over again by going into that same physiology, that same set of movements? You bet. Can you condition yourself to feel depressed? You bet. Can you also condition yourself to feel absolutely euphoric, where that is your natural emotional pump? And I'm not talking about just being motivated. I'm talking about really, truly feeling that way day to day, where the natural feeling for you is to be strong and to be focused and to be determined and to be happy. The answer is absolutely. Now, that's one aspect, is physiology. Let's look at focus a little bit. You might say, okay, Tony, I know I've got to focus on what works. Are you saying just be a positive thinker? I don't believe in positive thinking. I don't believe in going to your garden and saying, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. That's not going to, they'll take your garden. That's not going to help you. You got to be able to focus on how it really is, but not make it worse than it is. You then got to see it how you want it. And then you got to focus on how am I going to make it the way I want it. I'll tell you how you control your focus. It's not through affirmations, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. I'm really happy, I really am. With that physiology, no matter what you say, you're not going to feel happy. But what it really is coming down to asking yourself better questions. You see, every moment while you're listening to me right now, every moment in your life, you're, quote, thinking. Thinking is nothing but the process of asking and answering questions. Here's the problem. Most of us ask questions unconsciously. And ask and you shall what? Receive. So if you ask lousy questions like, why does this always happen to me? Well, it may not always happen to you, but your brain is like the ultimate computer. If you ask it a question, it's got to come up with an answer. It's got to make one up. So if you say, why does this always happen to me? Your brain goes to, you're a schmuck. Or some people say things like, how come I can never lose weight? Your brain goes, because you're a pig. You ask a lousy question, what are you going to get? A lousy answer. A better question might be, how could I lose weight now and enjoy the process? Because if you say, how can I lose weight now, your brain will just go on a diet, and you go, I don't want to go through that again. But if you say, how can I lose weight now and enjoy the process, your focus goes to not only achieving, but enjoying the process. You might say, I've always wanted to ride horses. Maybe I'll take horseback riding lessons. I won't even be thinking about it and also lose weight. Do you get the idea of what I'm talking about? I'm doing it quickly because in Personal Power we've talked about these, but I want to remind you of them because the questions you ask yourself and the way you move radically changes the way you feel. The way you feel determines what you're going to do. In a frustrated state, you're not going to go out and be totally loving. In a frustrated state, you're not going to go start a business. Remember, it's not our intellect that makes us do these things. We don't marry someone because we made an intellectual list. You marry them because they ran off with your heart and you're passionate to be with this person. You love them. You start a business because you found some drive inside of you. Because it's hard to do those things. But the rewards are in who we become as a person as we live in these states, and they are habits. So you might want to take my little test. You might want to take a few minutes, stop this videotape, and actually write down a list of all the emotions you experience in a week. I mean, both the good and the bad, honestly. Right? What are the terrible feelings? What are the not so good feelings that you not feel once in a while, but consistently feel? What are the great ones? And again, test this. And I think what you're going to find is you got probably less than a dozen emotions you experience consistently. And as a result of that, what's happening is at least half of them make you feel like heck. And as a result of that, what's happening? You should feel a smidge cranky when you see this because you're ripping yourself off. There are 3,800 emotions you could feel. So quality life is a life of powerful, positive emotion that you're able to share with the people around you, whether it be your kids or anybody else, because you're feeling it, not because you're pumped up, not because you're trying to be positive or give something to someone else, because you really feel that way. And if you got everything else in the world, you got the money and the homes and the cars and you got success and everybody respects you and you change the world, but you're not happy, then you got a John Belushi on your hands. A guy that tons of people love, did what he loved in his life, and he's gone because he didn't make himself feel good. He made everybody else feel good. Or an Elvis Presley. Or maybe your neighbor. Or maybe you in your past. It certainly was my past. So I really want you to take a look at this. Let me offer you one other little tool, and then I'll take you to Hawaii. It's a simple little thing. So simple. See, I'm a big believer in profound knowledge. Profound knowledge to me is something that is so powerful, but it is so simple. It's something that as soon as you understand it, whether it be a strategy or an idea or a distinction, that the minute you understand it, you can immediately change the quality of your life as well as anybody else's life that you have the privilege to actually touch. So here's a simple idea. I call it incantations. We all know about self-talk. You should talk to yourself right. But you can self-talk yourself like crazy. You're great, I'm great, I'm great, I'm great, I'm great, and still feel like heck. So that doesn't do it. We know about affirmations. I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. The difference between an affirmation and what I want to talk to you about is something I call incantations. The literal dictionary definition of incantations is magical words spoken forth. Now, when you speak magical words, they have an impact on you. What's the magic that takes a word into something that actually changes our life? Well, repeating it over and over again is okay, but it's emotion. I mean, think about it. That's what starts wars. That's what makes you fall in love. That's what changes your life is emotion. So we have certain phrases that we say to ourselves a lot, over and over again. But when we say them and add emotion, they literally put us in a form of almost hypnosis. Kind of like incantation. Think about the times of King Arthur and the spells that used to be put on people to turn them from a frog into a prince or vice versa. Well, we use these incantations all the time. People say to me things like, you ask somebody, could you go get me the salt? In their head, they're on the way in going, I don't know where the salt is. I really don't know where it is. It's right over there to the right. I don't know where it is. You keep saying, I just don't know where it is. You open the cupboard, you really look, you keep saying, I don't know. And finally you say, I can't find the salt, amazingly. So a person comes in, they walk right next to you, reach right in front of your face, and they go, what is this? You go, the salt. Have you ever had an experience like this, honestly? Well, the salt was right in front of your face. Did you see it? Yes. How come you didn't perceive it? Because you'd literally given yourself, in psychology, what we call a scotoma, a blind spot. You'd hypnotize yourself into literally not seeing it. Now, we do this with our lives all the time. People say, I just can't do this. I just can't get myself to follow through. I can't get myself to follow through. I just can't. Why do you think I can't get myself to follow through? Well, it might have to do with what you say 20 times a day with all the emotional intensity you can possibly generate that's creating this challenge. You got to notice that. Or, I love chocolate. I just love it so much I can never give it up. Now, teach me how to give it up. Well, nothing's going to change you if you keep giving your brain and your body a direct command through incantations. And by the way, you can use incantations to enhance your life. What if when you were running, you're saying, I'm a lean, mean running machine? Or every day and every way I'm getting better and better. An old affirmation from an old book from years ago that most of us know, but do you use it? See, my whole thing in life is so much stuff that makes a difference in life is simple. We know it. But the difference in life is knowing doesn't change your life. Doing does. Lots of people know what to do, but they don't do what they know. So what I want to do right now is have you just think about, put yourself in a strong state. Sit up in your chair. Don't be sitting passively anymore in here, because that's the challenge. You're not in my seminar. My seminar, I'd move you. Because the last part of emotion, I should mention, is conditioning. Just like those monkeys, what makes them go is repetition. Here's what they found out when they did this training of their fingers. If they take down the fingers and they move this finger, but while they're doing it, they create a tremendous amount of emotion in the animal. And the way they do that is they stimulate the pleasure center of the brain in this monkey while this is happening. Pleasure, while it's happening. Pleasure, while it's happening. Pretty soon, guess what? It doesn't take thousands of times. A dozen or two times, and the monkey does this constantly. Advertisers know this. How the heck do you think they run all these commercials? Commercials have very little to do with what the product really is. In a beer commercial, do you get reality? Do you get a big guy with a nice beer belly grabbing his buddy by the head, pounding him, going, love you, little buddy? I don't think so. What you get instead is some really sexy, attractive woman or man who's drinking this beer looking wonderful, as if that had anything to do with the beer. See, the reality is it all comes down to attaching emotion to what it is you want. Every advertiser knows that. What you want to learn to do is advertise in your own brain to condition yourself to follow through. And the first way to do that is right now be in an upstate. And by the way, if you see some video of our university, you see people having a great time, look like they're at a rock and roll concert or at a top sporting event, or they're celebrating, it's not about pump up. It's about putting yourself in the state where you will learn and remember. That's what it's really about. So here's the tool I want you to learn. Really simple. We're going to show you a tool I call an urge management tool. It'll show you how to take something, for example, that you don't want to do and get yourself to love doing it, really love doing it. I'll also show you a tool if there's something you love to do that's not good for you, how to change it. And it's all done with some simple questions. So let's go to Hawaii, and let's give you a little idea what it looks like, and then I'll demonstrate it for you with a real person, and I think you'll laugh and hopefully learn as well. I'll see you in a few moments. I want to give you one other little tool, and it's a tool that is so simple again. It's like my idea of profound knowledge is when you take something complex and you figure out how to make it so simple, anybody can do it. You can even use it immediately. It's easy, and it produces a result. Now, I'll tell you what the tool is. It's about how to change the quality of any experience you have in a matter of seconds. Any experience. Lovemaking, a business situation, a meal, exercise, anything. And the tool I'm going to talk to you about is called the quality quantifier. And what it really is about is how to increase the quality of any experience you have. I developed this tool because people have used like the personal power product, for example, around the world and made major changes in their weight. For example, how many of you use that product to lose some weight? Let me see your hands. Now, do people overeat every moment they're alive? Yes or no? They only eat when they're in overeating what? State. When you get in that state, you lose all your consciousness about what to eat, about how to eat, about how much to eat. It's gone because you're in a state of such urgency. And when people are trying to make their life better, they have to be able to do it by being conscious. But what happens when the urgency rises, your consciousness disappears, and all of a sudden you lose all of your faculties. So I started thinking, have I ever been in a state where I felt like I had to eat, but then something broke the pattern, and I forgot about it for a while? How many of you had that experience? You thought you were starved, something broke your pattern, and you lost the urge. It's not that you can't manage your behavior, it's that you're not managing your urges. Because if the moment of the urges you took something to take control of it, you could have changed it all. So in order to do that, I was at a friend's house, and I was thinking, okay, how do I help people manage those urges? There's so many tools, but I want to create something so simple anybody can do it. I thought, there's certain levels of urges. They have different levels. Some urges you feel driven. Some urges you feel like no matter what, you're going to have it right now. Like how many of you have ever broken some of your own health rules because you got in such an urge state? Okay? But other times, it's like you could have that food you think you're normally addicted to. It's sitting there in front of you and you don't even care. Have you had that experience too? And not because you were full, just because you weren't into it. So I said, well, let's quantify that. There's a quality of experience, there's a quality of our state where we follow through, where we follow through a little, where we don't follow through at all, and where literally no one can make us follow through, make us eat it. And everyone has this capability. It's all a matter of manipulating our focus, our perception, the meaning we attach to things. So I was at this friend's house, and they had some banana bread sitting on their coffee table. And I looked at the banana bread, and I asked this lady there, who I know, I said, what's your level of desire for that banana bread right now on a scale from 0 to 10? She looked at it and went, maybe a 4. I said, well, what would it take to make it a 7? She said, what do you mean? I said, to make it where, right now 4, whatever that is, you've now quantified where you are. What would it take to have the desire move up to 7? Not 10, but 7, where you really start to really want it. She said, well, if I thought about it being hot. I said, what about 8? So if I thought it was hot and it just come out of like the oven, and I thought about its smells, and I could actually feel the chewiness in my mouth. And you could see her start to go into state. Her eyes got like this. Start doing the banana. She's looking at the banana bread like this. Like she's going to swoop in for it now, right? I said, what would it take it to 10? She goes, if you put chocolate on it. I said, okay, whoa, hold back now. I said, what would it take for you to get it to 2? She said, to realize it's just cold and been sitting there for a while. And you could see her just drop down to it. So it's like a scale, right? I said, okay, what would it take for you to get to -2? And she said, I couldn't do that. I mean, I like it. I said, I know you can't, but if you could do it. Whenever people say they can't do something, you say, I know you can't, but if you could, they'll give you the answer. If you're persistent. She goes, I guess if I looked at the grease on the napkin it's sitting on. And I thought about that going in and, then I wouldn't want it at all. You could just see her whole state change. I said, what would it take to make it -5? She said, if I saw all that grease like crumpled together, like coming out my pores, like acne or something. She goes, ugh. I said, what would it take for it to be -10? She goes, oh my God, if I thought it was going to make me sick. She goes, if I thought it would make me sick, I'd throw up. Oh my God, I'd never do it. I said, what would that be? And she started getting this really state. I said, you want it? She goes, no, I don't want it. I said, well, come back here for a second. Imagine it being hot and moist and chewy. And she went, oh yeah. I imagine chocolate on it. So no, come back over here. It's really cold. See, it's cold. See that? And literally, I could just move her up and down the scale of urgency. So I'm watching this and I'm saying, wow, this is amazing. Being able to shift back and forth. And by the way, people usually, to get to -10, also have fear of loss. It's that they be sick, or they lose their freedom, or it would do something to them that's horrible, some form of pain. Pain, the loss of pain, the fear of loss, that pain, seems to push people through the roof for urgency. Like when you say, oh my God, I haven't eaten in 12 hours. That'll move you up there real fast. I'm starved. At the same time, you think something's going to make you sick, you'll avoid it at all costs. It becomes that other level. So I started saying we all have the resources inside to change where we are on the scale from one place to the other. But then I started using this thing thinking, wow, I could do this beyond food. Most people in life have experiences where they go out and do something and see how it turns out. How silly. How stupid. So I was here in Hawaii for a program a couple of years ago, and a good buddy of mine, we run together. We went out on a run, and it was a really hot day, and we were on the Big Island that year. And the place we ran was like where all the volcanoes have just desolate, made it desolate. There's no trees, there's nothing. And it was really, really hot, and there was no wind. So we went on this run, and we were just pushing it pretty good. And we came back at the end of the run, and I said, let me ask you a question. I said, how would you rate that run we just did on a scale from -10, worst thing of our whole lives, to +10, the best run ever? He said, I'd say it's like a 6 or a 7. I said, that's exactly where I rated my head, too. I said, let me ask you a question. If you and I were going to go back and run again, is there anything we could have done that would have made it, if we decided it was going to be a level 8 run, could we have done that? If we decided, well, you're telling your brain, I expect the answer. You've got to have certainty when you ask a question.